All right. So, hello everyone, and welcome back to Factorio. So, where we last left off, we were doing some work on Gleba, which there is one thing which I've thought of, which we can do to make a big upgrade. So the problem is that we're not getting all that much stuff into these belts, but we have, where are they? Stack inserters now. So if I just replace all of these with stack inserters, then that should dramatically increase the amount of jelly that we can put onto there, and likewise the amount of Yumiko mash that we can put up here. And we can do the same thing with the nutrients. So let's see here. Where is the nutrient production that we need to be worrying about? Here it is. Alright, so you get a stack inserter there. Where else? Because I know it's not just that one machine that makes nutrients, right? There's gotta be... These ones are turned off. Okay, then there's this guy down here who makes nutrients, so you get a stack inserter. And is that it? Yeah, I think that's probably it. Alright, so now all this stuff is extra condensed. And that should be good. Are those logs on that? Okay, yeah, somehow logs got onto there, I guess, when we set up the new agricultural tower. So we need to get rid of those. So it should be easy enough. We just pop down something right there and filter. I put filter to the right with wood. And then this can just go... This is a belt that goes just directly into the burning system, right? So there we go. That should deal with that and then never do anything again. So that's another problem solved. And yeah, the jelly is gonna be real concentrated now. We'll see. I don't think this will cause problems with the other inserters taking the stuff in. I think it should be fine. And it should just be increasing the belt capacity in general. Yeah, we can see that a lot of these have had like one of their jellies taken off the top. So that is probably all good to go. So that's just the one change that I wanted to make here on Gleba before getting distracted and doing something else. So, what we are trying to do is up in space. We're trying to make a thing to produce blue circuits and rocket fuel and low density structures. So for the blue circuits, we have red circuits, green circuits, and sulfuric acid all set up. So now we just need to work on their prerequisites. So this needs plastic and wire, this needs wire, and this needs sulfur and iron plates. So for the plastic, we get... Is it another one of these? Do you make plastic in these or in chemical plants? I think it's in chemical plants. Let's get a chemical plant down. So there we go. And you are going to make plastic from coal and petroleum gas. How much plastic do we need? Somewhere in the realm of 1. So this one machine is going to be enough. And we throw some productivity modules in to make it even better. So that outputs onto there. And then is going to be taking in... Well, let's see. It'll be taking in a belt of coal and a pipe of petroleum gas. Wait, that needs to be spaced slightly more because of how the underground pipes work. So we have like that and that. Alright, so that is plastic for the red circuits. Then next we need the wire. So the wire is going to be feeding both the green circuits and the red circuits, but mostly the green circuits. So, let's see, this is the green circuit output. This is the red circuit output. So the wire would be, I guess, this belt and one of these two belts. So let's see if we can get those aligned properly. So if we have that whole belt facing down that way, then our wire goes up to here and then is going to merge up somewhere in this vicinity. Like this. So we have that all set up, and this needs to be made all foundationed. So there we go. Once that gets all of its foundations in, it can do its thing. And then we need to make our wire production. Which, how much are we going to need? 7.5 there. 4.5 in those two places. How does... Oh, that shouldn't need 7.5. That should get productivity modules, probably. So we need then, like... 6... Wait, no. What do we need? We need 9... 13.5 wire for there. And another 2 wire there, so like 15.5 wire. So let's get some of this stuff in. And how much are you going to need once that's all set up? That's going to be less than 5. It's going to be minus 40%, so it's going to be like 3. Alright, so let's get something like this. And you get speed modules, you get productivity modules, and will that be enough on its own? So these ones are... It's hard to tell because the beacons don't function properly. Let's see if we can start getting some solar panels in. We're going to need a whole bunch of these guys at some point anyways. And this space is usually mostly available for that. So we're just going to put something like that in for now, so that all these can technically be powered. And speaking of which, those machines need speed modules. That's obviously important. Oh, and if these aren't showing properly, they're all going to need speed modules as well, which means we might need more plastic. Yeah, we might just have like all the numbers wrong here. I guess we'll figure that out in a second. Hopefully we can build this vaguely scalable-ish. Alright, so now we get all those blinking annoying lights gone. Which isn't going to do much for the actual power production, but will be something. Alright, so how can we just make this be scalable is the question. We can put more green circuit production down there if we need to. Okay, let's have the wire not be directly on top of the red and green circuits. Let's have it be off to the side. So we're just going to do something like this and get some productivity modules in and some speed modules into the beacons. So then these can make the wire. Wait, why have I done it like this? Okay, wait, technically this should work if we output to the near side. Yeah, if we do something like this and output up there, and then we take our inputs of copper plates, something like that. So then this output belt goes up and then wraps around into this whole system, which needs to be a little bit more than that. We need the splitter in. So it's something like that, and let's fill in the foundations where they're going to need to go. Alright, so this is probably enough copper wire production. I guess we'll figure out in the future if it isn't. And we are doing pretty good at just building this stuff out as I place it, which is a plus. So you are probably going to need double long-handled inserters to get the wire out, or to get the plates in. And these need to be rotated correctly. So you are rotated like that. Alright, so we have copper plates on that belt. Then we have iron plates, which need to go to the sulfuric acid, the green circuits, and I think that's it. And then we need to get all of the coal-based stuff over to here. Let's just keep spamming in more solar panels to see if we can get the power stable. Just preemptively. That would be cool, if possible. And I imagine right now the power is pretty much terrible. Yep. So let's see. Gleba support had all of these solar panels, and I think Foundation Crafter had even more. Now we might try to do nuclear power on this, but probably not. It's probably too much effort keeping it fueled. Alright, so that extra solar power is in now. So we can at least get started on all this stuff. And can we just copy paste this and just get it out, I don't know, somewhere convenient. Just have a huge number of solar panels all over the place. And okay, I don't think that's a problem, but the amount of foundation that it's going to take to fix it is relatively minimal, so we might as well. So that's all set up. Now, the iron plate production. I just realized we sort of boxed in the ammo production over here. So this is the smelting, right, for the ammo. Yeah, we're not really doing a great job of designing things up here, but we are getting a whole bunch of rockets launched with stuff that we're going to need eventually. So it's not like the worst thing in the world. Alright, so for the copper plates, let's get a foundry in. Actually, wait, we don't need this. We can just cast the copper plates directly, or the copper wire directly. And so we can take all that out, get in a foundry, which we're probably going to want it to be something like that. Actually, wait, no, I have a better idea. We can just have it output directly onto this. So we just get a foundry, which goes up here. And you are going to cast copper cable and get productivity moduled, and then have like a couple bulk inserter outputs, because you're probably going to need that. And then we just get a couple beacons in with speed modules to get you going real fast. And then hopefully that will provide all the copper cable we need. And we just need a molten copper production. So if we just have another one down here, which will melt copper, then, I mean, this shouldn't really even need any modules. We'll give that productivity modules. Hopefully that will be enough. And then we just need to feed you just some calcite and some copper ore. So we just do that, and it should be all good. So the calcite and the copper ore go on there. Then we want another one, which is going to cast iron plates. Wait, actually, no, this should melt iron because we have the calcite belt right here. So we melt down the iron, and we are going to output it to a pipe where we will cast some plates and then get modules into these. And they might need speed modules, they might not. How much is this? Okay, yeah, they're definitely going to need speed modules. So let's get a beacon or two down here. There we go. And sped up. And then this can then output the iron plates to a belt, which will go down this way and into here. So that's one. And then the other one needs to get onto this belt here, which I hope will be long enough, actually. It's gonna have to be. So if we just get you and then just rotate that belt around to face that way, we're going to need to fill in a whole bunch of area for foundation to make all this stuff work. So something like that. Alright. So that is that, hopefully. And so now we just need to go over to the coal production. So we need to make coal for that chemical plant, which, if we just get another chemical plant up here that's doing coal synthesis, then you need sulfur, carbon, and water. So we get 2 belts and a pipe. So it's something like that. and that, and that. Okay, wait, no, because you need to output to this belt, so we actually need to move that slightly to make space. So we need it to have an input belt like over there, I guess, and be aligned like this. And then we have that, that, and that. So that goes across. Then this can output to there. And we need to set it to be coal synthesis. And it inputs from there and there. So that is all set up. Right? So that produces 0.5 coal. So we are going to want to get this with some modules and beacons. Like that. So that we have enough coal production. And then we just expand this up to here. And we get all the rest of this stuff set up. Like that. Alright, so then this output goes down to there. And that is all attached up. What's the power looking like now? It's actually looking like we have enough production right at this very moment. So that's cool. It's always a good sign. Alright, so that handles everything but the petroleum gas for this. And then we need the sulfur, carbon, and water up here, which, if we get crushers in, you make carbon and sulfur, and you make ice, which makes water. Alright, so we need to get the water in next then, which should just be chemical plant with ice melting. So that makes 20 water. This needs 20-ish water. So that should be all cleared. We're losing solar panels on Novice. Where is that? Okay, I'm not sure how we managed to stop them. I guess they just moved on. But we should get some laser turret coverage in that area then. And just a nice, convenient little short wall there as well. And back to what we were doing. So there we go. Now that's in, making more water more efficiently. So that is down to sulfur, carbon, and that's down to ice. So the only thing we're missing now is the petroleum gas. And we finished plastic bar productivity, so that's cool. And I guess let's do asteroid productivity again. Yeah, let's do more asteroid productivity. I do love me some asteroid productivity. Alright, so this is all good. We need the petroleum gas production. So how does one make petroleum gas under these circumstances? We can make it from light oil cracking, if we can get light oil. So if we can get light or heavy oil, we can make petroleum gas from light oil cracking. And then the other alternative would be a oil refinery itself. So if we get an oil refinery, we can take coal, calcite, and sulfuric acid to make heavy oil. That seems like a bad idea. But that seems like it might be what we have to do. So let's let's see here. If we're doing that, the sulfuric acid is over here, as is the calcite. So if we put you in this sort of general vicinity and set you to... Okay, wait, no, we can just loop coal liquefaction with coal and steam, right? We don't have to do the simple coal liquefaction part. So we can bring up like barrels of heavy oil to get it started. Which means, so we're gonna need steam, which means we're gonna have to take more of this water. Alright, let's just figure out what we're gonna need for this. So we get you in. You are going to need coal liquefaction, which is going to need a belt of coal from here. So actually, do we put this down in this area? Yeah, I think that's where this has to go. So this oil refinery goes down here to receive its belt of coal. And you're set to coal liquefaction. So you have coal input. Then we need to get steam in here. Okay, we need 2 pipe inputs. How possible is that? So we can have the heavy oil loop around like that. That assembly machine doesn't need to exist. Neither does that one or that one. Those are all just samples. So we have that, and then I guess we would also have a heavy oil unbarreler attached to there. Actually, we can get that even more direct. So if we just have heavy oil unbarreler here, and you just point in... Okay, I guess you would have to loop around like that or something. And then you get the heavy oil barrels from there, which would be filtered to a heavy oil barrel. And you... we'll deal with getting that booted up later. For now, we need to then get steam into this. We also need to make sure that this actually goes fast enough. How much petroleum gas do we need? 32. This is going to give us a lot of heavy oil, hopefully. Alright, so those problems were not real. So this is mostly going to give us heavy oil and light oil. So let's get more beacons in so that this goes quickly. Bam, bam. And how's power going? Power is still fine for just keeping the beacons active. So that is doing its thing, and it's going to need 4 coal per second, 20 steam per second. Okay. So we need to then get some chemical plants. Like that. So you are going to crack light oil, and you need water. Alright, I forgot that that was a thing. So you're going to crack light oil and water down. You're going to crack heavy oil and water down. So we can just connect you like that, and you like that. So if this gives us 30 spare heavy oil, 9 spare light oil, that should give us a decent chunk of petroleum gas, hopefully. Okay, wait, no, this is wrong. So you need to be flipped, first of all, and you need to be moved somewhere where this can also input across. So you get something there, and then that loops across and then goes up and into that. That gets a foundation so that this all works. And you are back to doing light oil cracking. Alright, so now we're gonna need productivity modules and speed beacons for all of these guys, probably. So there we go. This gives us... Let's see, this gives us more than enough light oil to run this, but it's not fast enough. Alright, so let's take out some of these solar panels so that we can squeeze in another speed beacon. And hopefully that is enough. That's 23.2 petroleum gas, which is probably enough. I'm going to say hopefully that's enough. I haven't done the math, which I definitely should. Alright, so then we need to get this petroleum gas out, which means this pipe needs to go underground like that. And then that can connect around. So that lets this go out. No, that's not going to work. This whole thing is a mess. Okay. Can we get this to be less awful? So, oh, we also need to get the water in? Okay, yeah, no, this is not going to work. We're going to need to just dismantle this whole setup and figure out how to get things working better. Alright, so we get... This being in here is still probably fine. But then I think we are going to do the conventional expandable 3-row output. So we then need to send all of these across to the 3 outputs. So the heavy oil does need to wrap back around into itself, as does this. That can just go underground and into there when we want to get things started up. Alright, so that is going to be importing the coal. So now we just need one of these guys to go off of the heavy oil pipe. And can we fit... We can squeeze water in there, probably. Alright, so this then becomes the water input pipe for that. Then this output wraps down into the light oil. The light oil then goes like this somehow. Maybe? No, wait. How's the light oil going to get in? If the light oil just goes out here, just gives some more space, that should be fine. Even another one down, I think, would be even better. So we can have the water input pipe merge around to there, and then the light oil pipe can go forwards. So you get that. Fill in that random little corner. Alright, so now we have the petroleum gas pipe, which we can connect up to that. And now we just need to get modules and speed beacons in wherever we can. So, I don't know, something like that ought to do. Alright, so that gets all those beacons, and it's still building stuff. Oh, we need to fill in a gap there for all of this to work. Alright. So, we have a water input pipe and a steam input pipe to deal with now. So this is our water pipe, and our water source is very expandable. So, we take this pipe, run you down this way and into that. So that's water supplied everywhere we need. So then the last thing is we need something to make the steam. So hopefully, how do you make steam? Steam condensation, ice melting. So acid neutralization, obviously. None of those are relevant. Am I dumb? How do you make steam? How does one make steam? Does it have to be like an oil refiner recipe or something? No? How did I do this? How did I do this on Vulcanus? So that was the other way around, where we had steam. Alright, on Vulcanus we did this with that. Oh wait, I know how to make steam. It's the boiler, right? So we just need to get one of those in. Where are you? Boiler. So you get placed in, and you don't work in space. Alright, I guess it has to be acid neutralization then. Which is annoying. Wait, no, we can't do that either. Is it impossible to get steam? It shouldn't be impossible to get steam up here. Alright, so boiler. Boiler doesn't work on the space station. Does heat exchanger work? Alright, heat exchanger works. That's fine. That's just as good. In fact, I think it might be marginally better. So that... Wait, how do we get heat energy, though? That hasn't solved anything, has it? Because heating towers don't work in space. I guess we could set up a nuclear reactor for this, which seems like overkill. Alright, is this whole thing not going to work because we can't get steam in space in any mildly convenient way? I hope that isn't the case. Okay, was there some recipe here that gave me anything useful? No, that just gives me carbon, sulfur, and calcite. Okay, is there like some weird-ass foundry recipe that does something relevant here? No. Alright, so I think we might be a little bit stuck. So, let's see here. How do we create heat energy without using a nuclear reactor? Because I don't want to use a nuclear reactor. So acid neutralization isn't allowed. Which... Acid neutralization isn't allowed. Coal synthesis doesn't produce steam. Ice melting doesn't do anything. Steam condensation is the wrong way around. How have we gotten this close and we're stuck at just this one little part of it? There's got to be some convenient way of doing this. How do you make steam? So none of these recipes make steam. Alright. So I guess it has to be heat exchanger, and I guess we just have to be nuclear powered, which is, I guess, fine. So we get a heat exchanger there, and then we get a reactor. Alright, so let's just get that set up then. It's going to have input and output. And then it will carry its heat pump over to this, which should be making plenty of steam power. So then we just take the steam and we just need to connect it up to this, which we can do like that. And I mean, that seems like a very silly way of doing it, but you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. So then this outputs up. No, don't do it like that. You need a filter for uranium fuel cells. And then we need to clear all that stuff out and place it back again. And so then this just returns into there the extra waste stuff. Alright, so now we have steam production, and we should have plenty of it. So you are going to need to request uranium fuel cells, which should not be very difficult at all. And then let's get you blacklisted for now. Okay, and you can also request, while we're doing that, you can also request the heavy oil barrels to get this jump started, which we're then going to have to actually make. So we go down to novice, find somewhere with heavy oil. That seems mostly out. This seems to have enough. So we just get you up here, fill heavy oil barrel, and you get the heavy oil from there. You get the empty barrels from here, and then you can put the full barrels in there. Alright, so that should be that. And it's just going to be a matter of getting all the barrels in before that will eventually launch. So the uranium fuel cells are showing up. The barrels are starting to get made. So that should take a little bit of time. Okay, there has to be a better way of doing this, but I don't know what it is. Maybe there's some other way of producing heat in space that I'm not aware of. But I guess this does mean we can convert to nuclear power, hopefully. So each of these takes like 10 water. So let's see, how many can this guy fuel on its own? 40 megawatts. And so we can just have like 4-ish of these. So we have 4-ish of those. And then we can take out some of these solar panels and get in steam turbines. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then that should get us cleared for power production mostly. Once, obviously, this is all set up. And then we're going to need way more ice melting. So let's do the alternating between machines and beacons. So if we just have something like that, and then we get all this stuff in, hopefully that will be enough water for everything we need water to do, although the water demands down there are pretty high, so I might just want even one more of these. So if we have something like that, we have something like this, and then it all just outputs the water. And this stuff is showing up. The heavy oil is on the way as well, which will be a bit underwhelming in terms of how well what it does when it shows up, because we need coal for that to actually do anything. Alright, so this whole giant mess gives us our petroleum gas, which is connected in this line here, and it needs to go up to here. So we need to do that. That needs to go underground to not cause problems, and then that connects across, so that should bring our petroleum gas along to our plastic production. So, is that everything? We have coal production, which we're going to need more of. So let's get this whole thing set up even more. And do that. And then you expand up through to there. Alright, so you get carbon, sulfur, and water. So that is the water supply. And this is 3-ish coal. So we still need a bit more. So let's get this expanded out like that. And hopefully that will be enough coal production. So that is that. Now we just need to get the belts in. So you get that and that. And there and there. Then this belt goes up to there. And modules, recipes, and modules are all in. Alright, so hopefully that is enough coal production. That's going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, a little bit more than 4, almost 5, which hopefully is enough. So that then gets us our coal and our plastic, our coal and our petroleum gas to make the plastic, to make the red circuits, to make the blue circuits. Okay, this is sort of crazy. Let's see, we did leave some gaps in here that we're going to need to fill in. Like that. And then I guess we might as well also fill in those little weird bits there. Alright, so what do we have here? We have most of what we need, I think. So we need to have So we need to get the ice. We need to get ice cubes into there. We need to get sulfur and carbon into there. We also need to get sulfur over to here. So let's see if we can get those lined up. Then we need to get iron, copper, and calcite over to those guys. And then we need to turn on our nuclear plant. And then we should theoretically be fine at that point. Let's go to novice and see. This is set to not many stacks. Let's allow that to build up even more stacks just so that we have plenty to spare. Alright. So, step 1 is going to be the ice into this. And how much ice are we going to need? We're going to need like 6-ish. So if we get some crushers, if we do the advanced oxide, that is going to not get us much ice, but it will give us calcite, which we need a little bit of calcite. So just one of these, I think, produces enough calcite. Okay, wait, I don't know why I completely dismantled that, because we do need another one to just make oxide asteroid crushing, which gives us 3.5. Let's go one more, just to be sure. Alright, so then we need to get the calcite over to this belt, and the ice just directly down to here. So let's get that set up like that, and you are going to need to be filtered for ice cubes only. Alright, so that is the ice cubes. Then the calcite. Okay, wait, we also need ice cubes to get all the way down to here. I guess that's what we should do next, is we should get the engine system connected up to this. So our ice cubes go down this way. If we can get them along to here, that would be real neat. But it's gonna be a little bit tricky to get all the way over there. I have no idea how that's ever going to work. Do we need to move this around any? We might need to... Okay, wait. Maybe we can go around this left side. Okay. Yeah, how about... Since this left side isn't going to be solar panels because we're going to be doing mostly nuclear power, we can carve a quick path through that. So now this goes down into there. And that will provide the ice cubes for the fuel production, which probably shouldn't be after all the rest of this stuff, but it's probably fine. Alright, so that is ice cubes for fuel, check. Next up we have this belt needs to get the calcite, which is here, right? So we need the calcite to probably just split, and then half of it can come over this way. And let's see if that underground belt will work. Yes, alright, cool. So then this goes to here, and let's just send that underground for a bit so that this can just go directly across. Alright, calcite, check. Kind of. we're going to need to fill in this whole area. Alright, so this whole area becomes internal, which means it needs to get foundation. And there's not really a great way of placing a whole bunch of foundation all at once, so we'll just do that. Alright, so that is the calcite connected up. Next up we have the iron ore and the carbon. So the iron ore would be, let's see, the other input for this, which, did I remember to give this a second input? No, I did not. Whoops. Okay, that's fine though. We can fix that. We have the space for that, so you just need to take your iron input from something like that, and then that goes across to there. And then we just have to get this also split up like this. And yeah, it's giving all sorts of warnings, which are only warnings because we haven't gotten it all filled in yet. Then the rest of the iron comes down to here and across this way and into there. Alright, so that is iron connected up to that. So we just need to get the carbon, which the carbon was one of these belts. So let's bring that down through this whole labyrinth, I guess. Let's see, can we get this? If we take that out and put it there, then this all connects up, but this belt can now escape and head down that way. And that is all the resources for the engines connected up. Okay, so that's good. Then we just need to get the sulfur, because the sulfur is going into two separate places. So this was one sulfur belt, this was the other. So I think this has to go this way, and can this just be really easy? Almost. Yeah, actually, I think that's good enough, right? So if we just get one space in there, that can go across. Our sulfur belt can go in like that. Alright. And then this also needs to attach up to the water. That was the other thing which I had forgotten to do so far. So this, the water pipe is mostly over on this side of things. So if we turn this into, let's see, if we turn this into an underground belt, that gives us a little bit of room for pipe maneuvering in here. No, don't do that. You need to be like that so that that doesn't happen. So now this pipe goes across down here, doesn't connect up to that. Instead, it... Okay, wait, actually... Okay, we can fix this by moving that up to there. So then when we go under it, we're only back here. And now this pipe goes all the way over this way. And then all the way up. And water connected. And that's probably actually going to require a lot of water. That's 100 water. That's not good. Alright, we're going to need to expand this up. Wrong button. So this whole thing, we're going to copy paste you up to there, which is then going to require us to cut and paste this up to here, and then get that connected down, and that connected down, and let's see here, this, did this have anything else? No, it was just pretty simple. This belt actually isn't a thing. Alright, so we have that. That's a couple extra. Hopefully it's enough. Hopefully it's at least close to enough, right? So I don't think we need all 50 of the sulfuric acid. I don't think. We need like 2 there and like... Wait, is that it? I could have sworn we needed sulfuric acid somewhere else. No, maybe not. So maybe that extra water is just overkill, which would be totally fine by me. It'll be helpful for the nuclear reactor powering anyways. Alright. Now, what do we have left? We have... This is the calcite belt. And it was supposed to get its calcite over from here. And how much calcite do we need? We need 0.5 for those machines, and another 0.5-ish for those. We're going to need like 1 calcite total, which means we're going to need to paste that across, and then expand this across. So we have all this. Now we need to get our calcite belt, which... Okay, can we just move that inserter over to there so we have a little bit more space? Wait, actually no, we need to do the opposite. We need that inserter to be there. We need the long-handled inserter here. So this gives us a belt which is going to be filtered for calcite only. Like that. Then this belt has to get over to this, which I guess we just sort of wrap it back like this, and then across all of this. So you go across like that, and then across to here, and down into that. Alright, this is going to require a whole bunch more space to be filled in, which hopefully we can make use of some of this extra space later. Yeah, I can already tell this is probably not going to be the world's most effective design for what we're trying to accomplish here. And I've sort of given up on making the rocket fuel and low density structures here. We'll do those in another platform if we do them at all. Alright, so that should be calcite and ice done. Let's get you productivity moduled. And just speed beacon. We don't need that much speed beaconing for these. Just sort of fit some randomly in the vicinity, just to make sure. Alright, so we have ice and calcite done. Next up, we're going to look at the carbon, which we're going to need a lot of carbon probably. So that's like 5, 10, 15, 20 carbon there. And another tiny chunk there. So we're going to need like 20 carbon. And how much sulfur? How much sulfur do we need? We need 5 sulfur for that. And another 1, 2, 3, 4 for that. So we need like 9 sulfur, 20 carbon. And those inputs go in. This is the sulfur belt. This is the carbon belt, I guess. Yeah, okay. I actually don't know if... I don't think the long-handled inserters are going to be fast enough to do this. Is it easy to swap the two? Not easy, but maybe possible. This is disgusting, but we have to take you out, take you out. You can go across to there to feed the sulfur. You are gonna have to go across to here, where we're gonna need this boiler to be moved, which fortunately should be relatively straightforward. So you get moved down to there, and the heat pipes go down with it. So then this belt can be in this area. And then how do we... Okay, can we just go down here? Is this gonna work? Yeah, basically. We do that. That gets pushed down a little bit. And you get filtered to heavy oil barrels. Then this squeezes down that last extra bit and is done. Okay, so we've managed to do that so that we get the fast inserters on the carbon and the slow inserters on the sulfur. So now we just need to get the crushers in, and it was like 20 and like 9, right? So this is... Okay, we're going to need a lot of these. So let's get our beacons ready to go. And it's going to be something like this. Just an alternating pattern. And then we get our productivity modules. And we get our speed modules. Okay, so this is then going to produce... No, actually we need it to go over this way because this is the side that we're going to be ending on. And we get short outputs, long outputs. Long outputs are filtered to sulfur. Short outputs are filtered to carbon. And we paste those across. So the carbon then... Alright, so the sulfur just goes down to there, which is pretty straightforward. Just do that. The carbon needs to go out a little bit more. Then it needs to go under this and twist around this way. Alright. Pretty terrible, but it works. And so now we just need to scale this up enough and get all the internals filled in. So then we can just copy paste this. Hopefully that will be enough. If it isn't enough, then we're going to have some issues, but hopefully it will be. the launches are going more slowly now. Foundation Crafter, you are over Gleba for some reason. We need you to get back to Novice to deploy your foundations. So that is fine. Then, alright, over here on Vulcanist Support, these guys... Okay, but these guys aren't moduled for speed and productivity. They're moduled for efficiency, so I have no idea. I have no idea how much this is going to make. But it's probably going to be more than this, right? Like, these ones are fully moduled and are at plus 70%. And these ones should be more than that. Yeah, so regular modules are up to like plus 97%. So this should be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I guess just we're going to have to get a couple more of those guys placed in. And see how that goes. So you are making 1 sulfur per second. So we need 9 of you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that should be enough sulfur. And then we just need maybe even just like 1 more for carbon production. Yeah, let's just get like 2 more of these guys in to make carbon. And then they get pasted across from that. And they get all the modules that you would expect. And that should be plenty. Should be plenty as long as we don't have ratio problems, which we probably will. Alright, so Foundation Crafter is on its way back. Hopefully that can provide the foundations. We're 300 foundations short, which means we've fallen behind quite a bit. Oh, also, wait, I just thought of another thing that this space platform needs. It is going to need a bunch of cargo bays. So let's just do something scuffed like that. And so that should hopefully be enough to give this the cargo space that it needs to do its job. If not, we'll figure out shortly. Okay, that needs a little chunk of foundation. That is correct. It just hasn't gotten there yet. Alright, so this should be fine for the carbon and sulfur bit. So that is good. Then next we need the iron and copper. So how much iron and copper do we even need? We need probably a decent chunk of this iron. See, that gives 8 per second. Okay, we actually need this to be faster. So let's get a couple more of you guys in with speed modules. So you're up to 10 per second. That's still not quite good enough. Let's get a couple more in. And now you're up to 12 per second, and that's probably enough. We might need to upgrade the module ratings here to Mark 3s. I don't know really why I'm working with Mark 2s at this point. Alright, so Foundation Crafter is back. And we're just going to manually dump off all of that stuff just to make sure that we're good. Alright, so this, if this is making 12 iron platings per second, then we are going to need 70 iron per second, which means we're not going to need anywhere close to 15 iron ore. So we're probably going to need like 5 iron ore, and probably a similar story here, right? Let's see, this is 30 wire per second, which again is actually going to need to be quicker. So let's put even more of these guys in. And we'll see what that ends up looking like. Okay, are we now having... No, the power is still... We still have enough power to run all the beacons at this exact moment. It's just we've added a whole bunch of beacons in. I don't know why this has dropped down to showing 23%. Alright, so that is showing 23.6, which is not enough wire, but we are getting 2 more speed beacons in. So hopefully that fixes it, and if not, we can upgrade the modules until it works. But that's using 34 molten copper, which is like 10% of this, so we need like 4 or 5 copper per second. Alright, that's a good sign. So let's get this then expanded out to make iron and copper. And we just do something like this. And then that connects across, that connects across. And you get all of your outputs. So then these guys can just wrap down like this. Close input will be iron, or far output will be copper ore. And then we just paste those across and get our modules. So you get modules, these beacons get modules. Okay, so that is now all set. This is showing up to 40 wire now, which is good. And these guys are showing like 5-ish copper and like 11-ish iron, which should be enough already. Alright, so we get this belt goes down to here and goes into the copper production, which I guess we can sneak it through this gap in the beacons. Like that. And like that. And we're gonna need to make this whole area internal. Alright, so this all goes around. There's got to be some way of making this cursor bigger. I mean, maybe I could just like copy paste or something. Alright, so that is all in. And that's the copper. Next up is the iron, which just goes into this. Let's see here. Where's the iron? Oh, right. The iron comes into there because I forgot to work with it. Alright, so this just comes down like that. And then it loops across and goes in there. Alright, so that is iron set up. And I believe... Okay, there's one thing left, which is the ammunition production, which I nearly forgot about. So, our iron input belt is this one. So, if we split off from you and just bring this over this way, and then we bring you up and into this, it'll be an absolute miracle if this whole thing works, by the way. So that should smelt down the iron plates for the ammunition. And then we just need a couple of these guys to actually craft the ammo. So we just go like that. We need to get this whole thing filled in. Alright, so then these guys get their inserters. They get set to make firearm magazines. And okay, these are definitely going to need to be bulk inserters, right? Like, we do something like that. And we might want to... yeah, actually, we're just going to want to make this whole thing another foundry, probably. Alright, so that is fine. This is another area which needs to be set up properly. And we have plenty of foundations at the moment. What are you doing? Okay, yeah, no, you need to not go to... you need to not go to Gleba. That's not part of your intended trip. Alright. So... wait, I just realized something important. We need to get the actual blue circuits. These need to actually output to something, which then goes in to the... what's it called? Which goes into the hub. So this comes up here, goes across, and goes into that. Alright, fortunately, not too difficult to get set up. Alright, so this is all going. Power demands of the beacons are rising. Theoretically, once this is all running, we should be able to lean on the nuclear for power. Hopefully. But gosh, like, the power demands of some of these foundries are going to be insane. So the nuclear is going to have to do a darn good job. And we might need to expand it to like a multi-core nuclear factory, which we have space in this area to do that, so it should be fine. Alright, now what are we missing? We are missing the inputs to this stuff and the outputs to that. So let's run a belt along here, which just sort of goes like that along that entire thing, and it takes inputs into all of these guys. So they all get those inputs. Then they're all going to output to another belt up here, because we need to deal with the asteroid recycling. Because sometimes these produce an asteroid back. So you are set to filter out metallic asteroid chunks, as are you. Then you are set to filter out carbonic asteroid chunks, as are all of these guys. What's going on there? Nothing of concern, just some drones getting destroyed. Alright, carbonic asteroid chunks filtered. now we just need to get these set up and like that. Then these are going to filter out those chunks. And now we just need to fill in this whole space as it's internal. Like that, and like that. Alright. So, now we get this as a belt going out here to collect up all the asteroids that get recycled. And then, finally, we just have... What do we need? We need a splitter here, which takes priority... No, input priority left. Output priority is irrelevant here. So that will prioritize looping stuff around, and then this is where the fresh asteroids come in. Okay, this whole thing is off-center, actually. Can I... How easy is it to fix that? Probably not too hard. So if we just take this whole thing, cut it, and move it so it's like here, and then also push you up like one, maybe. Alright, so that is in. Now we just need to get all these connections right. So, let's see here. This belt over here was meant to go into this. So we can take out this whole section. Take out all of those. And you two get those two belts, which we're going to have to work out. So the top one is iron, which goes down to here. So you just go directly down to there, and we don't need that. We don't need that. Then the copper was the other one. So you go just down to there, and then down to there. So now this whole space doesn't exist right now. Probably going to end up sort of rebuilding that when we put the outer shell in. But for now, that's good. So then we have our carbon and sulfur. This belt needs to not exist. So we have our carbon and sulfur belts, which go burr. So the carbon belt needs to go into... what does it need to go into? It needs to go into this, the far one, and the sulfur belt needs to go... Okay, that insert was faced backwards. That's what was confusing me. So we have... Gosh, now I'm confusing myself constantly. This... Okay, well this is also set up wrong. So you definitely need that. Alright, so this has sulfur. Sulfur goes to here. Carbon goes to here. So sulfur goes to the right. So this loops around to there. And then carbon loops into that. Alright, then all of this stuff can go away as well. So that's carbon and sulfur set up. And finally, we just have the ice needs to go into here, which just goes along like that. You need to go underground there. That area is going to be filled in with foundation. And then the calcite needs to go... Is that what this belt is? Yes. Okay, so the calcite just goes like that and across to there. So that all gets removed. That beacon has to get removed and placed. Where does that beacon go? I guess we can pop it in here somewhere. It doesn't quite work out the same because of how we've moved things around, but it should be fine still. Alright, so I think we have everything connected up and it's nice and aligned now. So that is that. So now we just have to get resources into this belt and then sort of see what happens from there. And hopefully one of the things that happens from there is we get a nuclear power plant set up. Now we can actually place a good solid chunk of additional solar panels in. So we can get those set up. And that will be important for, I guess, emergencies mostly. Now we still have plenty of foundations, so that's fine. Everything up to this point has been built successfully. Alright, so now we just go into our blueprints and we grab space platform exterior. And you can just go in up there. And is this facing the right way? No, this is facing the wrong way. Alright, so we need you to get turned around like that. And then all of this stuff goes in like that. And then we need... So this is the asteroid output, so it just goes down into that. This is the ammunition input, which means that this belt here is going to need to go up and around this way and into that. And then we're going to need to fill in all of this extra space, probably put solar panels on it at some point. Yeah, we might not even need the nuclear power if we have this much kind of wasted space. So let's cover all this stuff in. Although we're gonna have to see how well this thing even moves, because it's certainly a big guy. All right, so that is all set up on that side. Some major attacks happening on Novice. Alright, so now we get the other half of the space platform exterior, which I think we're going to need like one of these before it starts heading down. So you can go in there, and then corner. So this is the asteroid input, which is going to be going in to there, and hopefully that all works out. Then this is the ammunition output, which I haven't left myself enough space to do normally, so we're gonna have to do it in an incredibly cursed way, like that. Alright, so that is all. That's all of that. Now we just have to get you aligned down to there. And now we just spam in the exterior chunks until we're done. So this needs to go all the way down to here and then rotate around until we get to the engines. And then this, let's see, we need to flip you horizontally so that you align properly. And then you just go all the way down until we reach the bottom, which is apparently much further out than I was expecting. And then this goes in here and then lines up like that. And now we just get the corner in like that. And now we get this corner in. So there we are. Alright, I believe that to be all of the cores of our blue circuit production platform. Now, how big is this? It is like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-ish exterior chunks across. Whereas Gleba support is 6, and Vulcanus support is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, okay, so it's considerably narrower than Vulcanus support, at least with the branch outs. The core of it is wider, but that should be fine. Alright, so this is now 2,000 space platforms short, which will probably take a while to fix. So we can just sort of leave that cooking for now, while we check up on how is the launch system going. Are we short on anything? We have big stockpiles of everything that we could need, at least big-ish. The blue circuits... Okay, the blue circuits are actually saturated. That's fantastic news. And low-density structures, I believe we have a casting facility for them out here somewhere. We have just like a random foundry here with no recipe. I wonder what you were supposed to be doing. Who knows? So low-density structures, we have plenty of those. And we're mostly taking from here, which I'd actually rather not, honestly. I'd rather take from the more efficient version, but that's probably fine. Okay, so that we obviously deactivated, and then our rocket fuel. So this rocket fuel is completely emptied out. This rocket fuel up here has stockpiles, but seems to be draining them. Alright, but that's fine, though, because that's still, like, a ton of spare rocket fuel, so we should be okay. Okay, meanwhile, let's check on Vulcanus support. How are you guys doing? You guys... You got a ton of coal. You've got a ton of coal. How's Vulcanus doing? Is Vulcanus... Alright, did they just leave, or is this actually enough coal? No, they must have just left. So, yeah. We have actually a backlog of coal here on Vulcanus. That is fantastic news. Now, do you have Speed Module 3s on board? You do. Do you have Speed Module 3s on board? You do not. Okay, let's have you request those. Just 100 of them, probably. Alright, so that is pretty good looking. So the rocket launcher, we have enough foundations already on Novice. Foundation Crafter has another giant chunk to deliver once we get the chance. So that is all looking good. Asteroid productivity research has crashed. Why? What is wrong with our asteroid productivity research? No agricultural science. Gleba support is making its trips, and Gleba is producing science, so we're just sort of in the midst of a bit of a downturn, I guess. That's fine. So Novice is doing its thing. This is getting set up. Is it going to set up all of the foundations before any of the other stuff? It probably is. I just want some asteroid collectors to go up there so we can get started on producing things. We have 40-some spare. We have some spare megawatts, which are going to pretty much instantly vanish as soon as the foundries start running. Oh, we also need you to be limited somewhat. So you... let's connect to that, and you will enable disable if blue circuits are greater than, I don't know, 1,000 maybe? You should be able to get and store a lot of them. So if we just do that, then it should be fine. Alright, so if this asteroid collector in particular were to get put in, it would instantly start working. And then we could start seeing some stuff happen. We're probably going to need more logic to control this, because I'm not at all confident that the engines will actually be able to run, since they're like last on the priority list. Alright, back on Novice. What's going on here? Anything good? Okay, we should check. Okay. Our supply of biter spawners has failed us, apparently. So we ran out of bioflux. Alright, so we ran out of bioflux. And yeah, this whole thing. So we can set that to trash unrequested, and we can put a heating tower in here to burn off any of the stuff on the belts. And then it's just a matter of like, these guys aren't actually doing any damage, they're just getting spawn camped basically. So this is fine to just leave it like this for now, I think. But we are going to need to get that bioflux in and recapture all of these. So, Gleba support. You are waiting above Gleba. And we are successfully crafting and launching rockets from here. What is this missing? This is just missing the electric engine units. Did we ever fill... Yeah, okay, so we can send transport platform over to Gleba to get Gleba's launching capacity going faster. That should be quite useful, and it should be possible to do. Alright, so that is that. We're going to swap that to a bulk inserter just in case it matters. We're going to need to... Once we have bioflux again, we're going to need to bring the Spidertron down here. So Spidertron, are you loaded up with capture bots? Yes, you are. So you should be fine. We might need like a second Gleba support to make sure that the runs happen more frequently, which hopefully we will just do that once rocket platform gets built. Okay, we need that to get filled in apparently. Just the tiniest little specks in there. This is going pretty well. Foundation crafter is returning, so we're not going to be low on foundations even after done crafting this. Okay, they actually did manage to do a tiny bit of chip damage on one laser there, but it should overall be fine. You're going to be filtered to only take spoilage, which I don't think will matter. I don't think will matter because the bioflux shouldn't be burnable unless it turns into spoilage, but just in case. Alright, so is there more launch capacity here? Yes, there is another. There's another rocket going out already. So I guess that's fine. I don't know, it feels like there was a bit of a delay. Okay, I think that needs to be set to ore, potentially. Just so that we never stay too long at novice. And I don't think we can wait for 300 seconds. I think you need to be set down to 200 seconds. Alright, so that is that. How many productivity modules do we have? We have 100 of them. Let's let that expand up to 3 stacks, actually. Just for the sake of it. We're still going to need more biter spawn eggs before that actually happens, obviously. Okay, then over here we are still doing a perfectly good job launching. Rocket fuel supplies are definitely lowering over time. Okay, that's probably still enough rocket fuel to get the rest of this one built, but we are going to need more rocket fuel production at some point. And how is this construction going? Mostly just doing the belt. Oh, I need to get this corner in. There we go. That corner is in. Does that dramatically increase the demand here? No, it doesn't. And Foundation Crafter looks like it did drop off some of the foundations it had, so that's cool. This is doing its thing. Still just getting more foundations. And power is still going fine, but let's start filling in some of this random space here with solar panels. Remember, kids, if you build your space platforms too efficiently, you won't have room for solar panels. Alright, so the solar panels just sort of go in any open spot, wherever they can fit, and we're probably going to wind up dismantling a good chunk of these to make way for random, like, bug fix buildings, but for now, at least it's good to have them. We can squeeze some in here, which should definitely be fine. We're just putting these on all of the foundations which we already have for other reasons before we place more dedicated foundations for solar panels. Okay, so that is all in. Oh, how did Vulcanist support do on the ammunition production? You had 3 speed moduled. You had 3 speed moduled and you're fine. Gleba support had 2 speed moduled. Alright, I guess in that case we will stick with the trend and pop some speed modules onto there. So now that just received a delivery of solar panels, which is going to do most of what we placed there. And now we're up to 72 megawatts, which will actually be... I mean, it'll be enough to run the foundries. It won't be enough to run the foundries and all of the assemblers. So we still have plenty of space for more solar panels, though, so I'm not worried. And also, of course, we have our nuclear setup here. Alright, so that should all be fine. These are all just building more rockets. And the rocket fuel supply is down to the 400s. Is there anything we can do to speed this up? You have plenty of light oil and plenty of solid fuel. So this is going at full capacity. This one over here, you are, well, first of all, you're just much slower. So you get some of those. And you also have plenty of both. Okay, so let's actually speed beacon these guys so that they can produce faster. Like that. And then you get your productivity modules. Alright, Gleba support is slowly making its... Wait, no, Gleba support actually got stuck. It's drifting back to Gleba now. What went wrong here? No ice. So where's the ice supposed to come from? Oh, is it... Is it because this backlog is too much? Let's see here. The ice is supposed to go on this belt, which is supposed to come from here through here. And all of these guys, and most of these guys are output full. Alright, so yeah, that's actually the problem. The problem is that our ice cracking is mostly output full. So, how much repair stuff do we have on here? We have belts, we have stack inserters. Actually, that's like a first step. Is you two are... Okay, no, stack inserters are probably not going to work for this because it needs to grab like a bunch of different parts of the same thing. So let's run this belt out to there. Do you have any bulk inserters? No bulk inserters. So we are going to have to do stack inserters here. And hopefully if we just like have enough of them, it'll work out. And I don't know. Maybe, okay, maybe we put the bulk inserters, we have 2 of those, we put those at the end of the row to keep it going through all the stack inserters. Alright, that, now we're cooking. Problem solved. We are successfully getting rid of the excess now. Through the power of just spamming down like 10 stack inserters. So that must be what went wrong here. Gleba's support got stuck and couldn't make it back to Novice, and that's why it's been ages since we've had any bioflux or science. It's a bit unexpected, but sometimes unexpected things happen. So hopefully this will keep that problem managed better. I mean, we have tons of ice now, so it looks fine, and we're already most of the way back. So yeah, we should be a-okay. So that should be all clear. And this is still holding out, still zapping the biters as soon as they spawn. Up here, we just got a warning. Why is that? Oh, just got to fill in that tiny little gap. Okay, so that's all good. We are just a couple space platforms shy of having the entire platform section built. And then it's just going to be a matter of all the gun turrets and asteroid collectors. And just a couple more belts, apparently. So that is pretty exciting. I would love to see any of the asteroid collectors placed in, just so I see what it looks like when this actually starts up. And rockets still going. Still have 300 rocket fuel left in storage, in addition to all the stuff that's actively launching. Okay, our science has returned, and our bioflux will have also returned. Which means we're just going to wait for the bioflux to actually physically be there, and then we're going to send the Spidertron down to capture them. Okay, actually, it's probably enough of a head start for the drones, so Spidertron can head down there immediately. And hopefully it can successfully capture rocket all of these guys and start producing the stuff that needs biter spawn eggs again. Alright, so Bioflux is now on the belt, and the Spidertron is here. It's got one of them, it's got two of them. So I have to wait a little bit for this one to spawn so that the options can cycle through. Alright. Capture complete. Now you can retreat back up to here. And we haven't quite got enough bioflux to make it all the way back to this just yet. So we do have another 58 bioflux on its way down here, which should get them all fed. And we have biter spawn eggs going out again. Very nice. And here comes the bioflux. And we're all good. Alright, so as long as Gleba support doesn't break again, that should be stable. Now, if we go up to rocket launcher, we have some stuff on the belts. What's left? We are still a bunch of gun turrets and asteroid collectors short. And also that stupid display panel, which we can just get rid of that. Alright, so this is going to be kind of brutal in terms of how long it takes to get booted up fully. Although it looks like we do have iron making its way down to here. So that's good. Not so lucky on the carbon front. We do have plastic, though. Did I just see some plastic go out? Yes, I did. Very neat. Okay, so this is starting to go very, very slowly. It's not worth turning the reactor on yet, because we don't even have enough water to do anything with it, even if it were active. Hopefully all of our asteroid productivity, which apparently just instantly dropped off again, hopefully all of our asteroid productivity makes this work. We might need to add the wings onto it like we did for Vulcanist support. And order to get enough asteroids. We're definitely not going to get enough just sitting here like this. But we're going to have to wait for it for a little bit. Because we can't do anything just yet. So we can actually... One thing we can do is... You are a splitter, your output priority left, so that the iron can go down that way. The copper needs to get set to do that. So that is fine. The calcite needs to also be output priority left, so it goes down here to the engines. Let's see, this is the carbon, and there's not much we can do about that. It kind of just has to go through the whole process. So the carbon needs to get past these, at least at the moment. Okay, we can set up some combinators for this, though. So where is decider combinator? And we need you to read the carbon supplied down here. Okay, so we need a decider combinator which reads from this belt segment. Read belt contents, hold all belts. So that goes up past this splitter. Wait, that's the calcite? Okay, that we don't actually need that, we need the other one. Because the calcite can just be sorted easily with priority splitters. So you read from this belt segment, which is this whole gargantuan belt segment of all of the carbon that we have total. Which I don't really want. So let's just get a random splitter in so that this belt segment is just this area. So you are hold all belts, and then we're going to say if carbon is greater than 20, that's just a number for a start, then we can output a... What signals do we want? Because we're going to need to do this for a couple of things. I guess we can actually just output a carbon signal of 1, saying that we have enough. Then we do... Let's see, calcite is sorted out. We do the same thing for ice. So you read from this, which is also just all the way down to here. So again, we just get a random useless splitter in just to constrain that. And you get if ice is greater than 20, output a signal of ice. So now we just need to bring these up to the machines that would otherwise be using it. And we're going to have to sneak it along on some of these belts, which are going to... Some of these other machines, which are going to set to not do anything. Alright, so that gets all of the carbon connected up. And so these are all going to be enable, disable, carbon is greater than 0. And we paste that across, so now these are all disabled by control behavior because they don't have enough carbon. Alright. Did I connect that up to the right one? No, I connected that up to the wrong one. That's fine though, we can have that whole thing connected in like that. So then we just need to get the ice all connected up to the same signal. So you are all connected up to that, and you are enable disable if ice is greater than 0. And then we just paste that across all of them. And hopefully that should let the ice and the carbon get down through the whole system. Hopefully. Very well might not, but we do have some ice going down here. So that's good. That provides water for all of this. Now I don't see... Oh wait, this... Alright, so this input line just kind of stops. So that's a problem, first of all. This input line needs to... How does this work? Oh, we can send this input line just back into there, potentially. That should be okay. Okay, so the other problem here is we have a whole lot of copper and nothing else. So we need to be able to vent some copper if need be. So that will be there with output priority right. So now if we have too much copper production, we can throw it away. And then that should get iron flowing through again, which isn't a problem just yet, but probably will be in a second. And actually we do need to be producing our ammo. That's facing the wrong way, because of course it is. Wait, what is this belt doing? What is this belt doing? No, stop. What? Okay. It's a good thing I fixed that. This was going to try to output iron plates onto everything. We need you to have a second belt out here, which does the outputting. So then all that just goes up to there. And so that is ammo production. Check. So the coal is actually backlogging, as is the sulfur. The plastic is a little bit. The fact that I'm seeing literally zero calcite anywhere is kind of concerning. So where does the calcite go? It goes on this belt, down to here, and into these. Oh, I see what's happening. We need to flip you guys around so that we get calcite as our first priority. Okay, now that's... Wait, no, that has worked somehow. Alright, so you guys don't need calcite outputs, but now we're outputting calcite and ice cubes instead of just ice cubes. And so hopefully that will be a bit better. It might cause some problems with ice cube supply, but that's ultimately fine, obviously. So the iron is going across to make ammunition still. That is going to be a little while before it gets set up. Okay, that supply of asteroids is actually set in wrong, so we can flip that around to have those going through. And that should be a pretty big burst in the short term. So another thing we need is we need recyclers. That's what we need. So this, we can use this area in here for that, I guess. So you come down here and then we get just a couple of these guys like that, and then this wraps around to go up to there. So now we need to fill in all of this as internal space, and then the recyclers get their inputs and outputs. So that's going to require another couple launches to do. So now we just get metallic asteroid recycling, carbonic asteroid recycling, oxide asteroid recycling, like that. And honestly, just having it like that should be fine to start with, probably. How's power going, by the way? Still fine most of the time, except for that one spike where all the crushers went all at once, and it was kind of crazy. Okay, let's see here. What is this error? That is all this stuff, but that's as it's supposed to be. It's been fixed. Okay, so we have our recycling in now, so if anything makes it past the front row, which currently is absolutely not happening, but if anything does, then we can recycle it back. And maybe we make these productivity speed moduled. Maybe we just leave them as is. Who knows? Right, there comes that gigantic burst of metallic asteroids, so those are going to start getting recycled, which is pretty neat. So how's the engines going? The engines are all set up. They have everything in large supply except for water, and even the water is definitely going. So the ice cubes are going to start backlogging. Now so the ice is obviously not... Carbon is backlogged, which means that these guys should be making coal, and they are, except for this one up here, because I forgot to connect it to the water. There we go. So now you can make your coal. And so now the coal backlogs down to here. This doesn't have steam yet, so that's what we're waiting on, basically. Alright. So the iron is going through. Okay, you know what? Let's just try it. Filter off. You get to start doing your thing. And can we connect these guys to the circuit network? Yes, we can. Alright, so you can be connected in to... Let's see, what options do we have here? Read fuel, read temperature. Okay, so let's do read temperature, and this needs to be min temperature of 500 degrees, so you are going to be... actually, do we want that to be directly connected? I don't know, maybe not. Let's take out this extra row, because I think technically we don't have enough heat to support it. This gives 40 megawatts. These guys take 10 each. So yeah, we're just going to leave it like that. And then run the reactor around the clock, I guess. That should be okay. So the calcite is starting to seriously backlog, which is good. The iron plates are still doing their iron plate thing. We don't seem to be anywhere especially close to having the ammo we need to do everything. That's backlogged only back to there. This has only gotten back to there. So this is heating up. And the steam should get this whole thing running, if it works properly. Sulfur has backed up all the way to this point. Okay. We might need to get trash vents for the carbon and or sulfur. Okay, Okay, yeah, we're definitely going to need it for the sulfur because the carbon we need to run the whole thing. So, where do we get that in? I mean, the closest it is to the output is over here. So I guess we run this belt a little bit further forwards and over to here, not onto that belt. You have to get that off. You need to go out to there and then get one of those guys, which we're going to turn you off for now, and you are going to need to be connected to the sulfur belt, which, if we hold all belts, is that literally the entire thing? Yes, it is. Alright, so then you are enable disable on sulfur is greater than 400. Let's say 460, because it can stack up to 464. Alright, so then we turn off the whitelist. You dump off a little bit of sulfur, and then keep going. So most of these are output full because of the carbon, which we have this guy. Okay, no, but this scans how much carbon is only in this last little area, which means we're going to need to get a bit creative here. So we get a bulk inserter there with filters. So you are turned off for now. And you need to reach up to the overall carbon, like this stuff up here. Read belt contents, hold all belts, and you are enable disable on carbon greater than, let's try like 650 maybe, and then turn the filters off. So this should keep the carbon flowing. Alright, so that should be fine to get at least some of both going at all times. The iron is still doing its thing. It's still nowhere close. And currently isn't even producing very quickly, so that might be something to look into. We might need more. We might need higher tier productivity modules on these guys, or to just jank them into a foundry. That would also definitely work, but would require more calcite. Alright, meanwhile, you are up to... Okay, this is actually great timing. You're up to like 490. So we're going to start getting steam any second now. So you are at 497. And that's up to 500. So you are now outputting steam, which means we're making heavy oil. And hopefully, yeah, so this is filling up. And that means we're getting plastic. And this is probably going to saturate soon, because the plastic is output full. And all the rest of this... What are we waiting on here? Are we waiting on the... Okay, we're waiting on the calcite to backlog just this 20 million miles up to here, so that it can start going into these guys. And the copper actually gets first crack at it, so that should be fine. Alright, so steam supply is active. This... How much fuel does this use? It's used 1 so far. So that's probably fine. Oh, I never connected these up to the water pipes. Okay, I should be able to do that pretty easily. So we get that beacon moved back to there. This pipe comes across. That belt goes underground a little bit. And the pipe goes into there. So now these guys have the temperature, they have the fluid, they just don't need to run, so that's fine. Oh, you actually apparently automatically deposit depleted uranium. And handy to know. Although it does make it a little bit harder to tell exactly how much fuels we're using on this whole system. Because it's just depositing it all away pretty much instantly. Alright, calcite is building up. We might... Let's see, how close are we to being able to move? This side, the ammunition is almost backlogged properly. This side is much longer and isn't really especially close. Now, is that... It's mostly because of item ingredient shortage that we're not getting that much iron. So hopefully that all works out. We might still need, like, 1 more of these guys dedicated to making iron. So let's just pop that in real quick. So you just do metallic asteroid crushing to make a giant chunk of iron, and you can be productivity moduled and take your input and do your output. Alright, so that should make sure, and let's make you a bulk inserter, that should make sure that we definitely have enough iron to run the guns and do the actual project at the same time, which is pretty handy. Alright, so this is backlogged with output full of petroleum gas, and that's fine because that's like the ultimate output that we need. Now, I don't know why you haven't fast inserted any coal in here. I guess just because you know that it's not going to work. I guess that's fine. Alright, so the ammunition is almost at the halfway mark, and once that happens, then we'll be able to be sending all the ammunition down this side, so it should fill that side up more quickly than it has been. The ammunition production here is not terrible. It's not incredible by any means. Yeah, let's just be lazy here. This is what these things are for, right? Just tier 3 productivity module onto all of these electric furnaces. We should have plenty. That's like 1 rocket launch. And that should get the ammo supply going much better once we have the iron plates to do that. So those are already on their way up. Novice, meanwhile, you are still fully functional. So you're still fully functional, and we are still making these guys. We're up to 130 some. We've got everything except the biter eggs, which are showing up occasionally. So there we go. That's all good. Research. Something's gone wrong with the research. I mean, I can definitely understand it not lasting long, but it shouldn't be that quick. So Gleba support has 1,000 science on it, which is pretty terrible. It's got 1,000 science and a couple pretty raggedy looking bioflux, honestly. I'm not too confident in all of that. We might need to investigate Gleba. What's going on here? Science production. Has something failed you here? You aren't getting enough pentapod eggs. None of you are getting enough pentapod eggs except for the first one. And these guys could be going faster. Well, I would have to expand this row up a little bit. I have to expand the row up a little bit. Okay, we just got a giant spike just now of research, which means that it is the Gleba science which is the problem. I don't know why this spike is so much larger than the previous one. That's kind of mysterious. And looks like it's gonna stop pretty quickly too. I mean, even the giant spike is still very slow. So we're gonna need to work out what's going on with Gleba. Did this ever get finished? Transport platform is above Gleba. So let's launch all that stuff down so that Gleba can get its additional rocket silos. And I doubt that's the problem, but like, it could be. Alright. So this is still filling that up. These guys have their electric engine units on the way. So we will be getting more rocket silos in a moment. So there we go. But this... yeah, I think the problem must just be the production rate there. Okay, meanwhile, back on the rocket launcher platform. How is this going? We're just about set up and ready to go. Our carbon supply looks fine. Sulfur supply looks fine. Ice supply is doing well as well. So ice supply is backed all the way up to here. Calcite supply is now in the machines. So we have wire. That needs to go that way. These guys aren't getting iron plates because we're still not... right, because all of our iron is going to make ammo. None of it is going to be actually making the iron plates for the green circuits yet. But once the iron plates go in, they'll go up there, make green circuits, which come down here. That'll let us make red circuits, which will let us make blue circuits, and then we should be good to go if we can get that set up to align the right way as well. And this belt needs to connect through in order for it to all work. Okay. So we should be good. We have ammunition backlogged all the way through to there. Alright, let's try... so you're going to go to Novice and go to Vulcanus. And you are going to just... we're just going to start you off and see what happens. So off you go. The engine is now running, which will be draining some of these guys. Hopefully our supplies are enough for it if we calculated properly. Otherwise, we're going to have a bit of a problem. We've got plenty of space to store blue circuits if we start making them, which I really hope we do. Alright, so we are moving now and collecting asteroids. Big asteroids are starting to show up. which is going to be testing our ammunition supply. Hopefully it's fine. We have a bit of a gap in asteroid collection right here, but it's not a gap in gun turret coverage, so it's fine. That typically happens when you're doing that sort of thing. Alright. So here we go. Asteroids are starting to come in at a good rate now. And there goes a good solid half belt of iron is going through. So hopefully the ammunition works out. And we'll just see what happens. Alright, so far the ammunition is looking good. We're only obviously a third of the way there. We're going fast though, 56 kilometers per second. It's faster even than... Well, it's faster than the super slow ones. Gleba support might be quicker on average. Not sure. Alright, we have a big solid chunk of asteroids going through. Novice is getting attacked. Don't really care to look at that right now. We've got plenty of sulfur, plenty of carbon, obviously. Not that we're really using any of either of those. It looks like the ammunition supply is filtering back to the machines. And we have enough iron now to fill all of these guys continually. Which means that we should, in theory, soon have enough iron to start actually feeding the production line that we're trying to accomplish here. So if this backlog pushes back all the way to here, yes, we have iron. We have iron plates in the system. Ammunition is okay. Ammunition just... Did it just shoot way back, or... No, I think I just got confused about where exactly it was. So we have green circuits now. We have red circuits now. We have blue circuit production going. Very nice. So that is good to go. And so you are going to be just traveling back and forth. So now we have a whole giant chunk of asteroids, many of which seem to be metallic. Now this system that we have doesn't have any capacity for getting rid of overflow. That's something we might need. Yeah, let's see here. We want the recycling to still happen even when the overflow is happening. Okay, and now we've turned around and we're heading right back to Novice instantly. Is that fine? Yes, ammunition has backlogged all the way. So you are going to wait for just like 60 seconds and item count of uranium fuel cells is greater than... And we used like 2 that entire trip. So let's just go greater than 10. And that should be that. So then for the recycling, we have blue circuits going out. I seem to have messed up this. Alright, you have to be less than 1,000 in order to output the blue circuits until it fills up. Alright, so the iron asteroids are absolutely overwhelming us here. And we have... The iron production is going through. Copper looks like it's doing fine, although it's kind of a little bit close, I guess. It might... We might have an issue with that. We also might not. How many blue circuits do we have? 47. Not great, not terrible. Alright, so we need to redesign this so that... we have the ability to always output somehow. Let's see. We take that out. This gets its own little thing. This goes out this way. And then in. And then this then goes up to there with an input priority. Okay. So that is better. Okay, wait, actually, I have an even better place for this. So if we get you there, and, okay, no, that's fine, actually, because that is just coincidentally another asteroid belt. So we get input priority left, and then this one needs to go out to here, like that, and be output priority left as well. So that should... it should keep the belts more clear. But now some of these guys might have problems with getting their chunks out. Okay. Is that... okay, wait, I have an idea, actually. So you output your chunks to the opposite side. So if we have this go like that. So now the recycled chunks are all on one side of the belt, and these machines can always output, in theory. We're going to need more... we're going to need more than just this, though. One bulk inserter is not enough to keep this going. Okay. So, yeah, we just need... I guess we can have another one of those back here with output priority right, and then just like 3 bulk inserters there, working overtime to clear stuff out. And let's see how many more of these we can put. Alright, so these are going like crazy, trying to get rid of all the excess metallic junk. Now, let's see, these ones over here are item ingredient shortage. These ones over here are output full. These ones here are mostly fine, but output full. Yeah, okay, that's fine for that to be that way. It's fine for this to be this way. Is the iron going through fast enough? Okay, copper. We have enough copper. We have enough iron. Did we deploy our blue circuits? No, we did not, but that's okay. Okay. So, I'm not actually sure how... okay, wait, no, this is the fresh asteroid chunk input, and it is definitely not doing a great job of it. We're almost exclusively getting recycled stuff now, which is no good. So this stuff actually gets prioritized just coincidentally, which is pretty great, because this outputs on this side, which gets first dibs on being on the belt. But this needs... we need way more speed on the metallic asteroid cycling, so let's get just speed modules there. I mean, that's only plus 60%, but it's something. How's the power grid going, by the way? Are we fine? Yeah, we're fine. We have apparently used steam turbines at some points to keep up. But that's fine. Although, did I just see this flickering? We might want, like... Okay, let's just put like 1 or 2 accumulators in here. Not even for the purposes that accumulators are used for, just so that we can see if we actually have enough. So those all go in. Gleba support is picked up. Okay, can I add a situation for what's available on the planet? Because it would be really cool to say, like, oh, there's no more agricultural science on the planet, so we can leave now. Okay, wait, we can set that to be inactivity. Okay, so yeah, let's go like 30 seconds of inactivity. Maybe that'll work. So we need to make sure we have bioflux down here. So all of this bioflux is 20 minutes away from popping. I believe the bioflux on Gleba support is also pretty awful. So how is that happening? It's because of this box, I think. We have bioflux boxes here. Actually, no. We just have not much bioflux on Gleba. What's going wrong here? You aren't getting enough Yumiko mash. Okay, so we need more Yumiko mash production. We have plenty of Yumiko berries. We just need more mashing of them. So, I mean, first step, we can just pop one in of those guys in. That'll help a little bit. Oh, wait, actually, you are output full on seeds. Why are we not... Where are we making seeds into things? I thought here we had... Okay, I see. So we need to set that up and set this up. There was also a new recipe, wasn't there? Like overgrowth soil or something? Let's see here. Pretty sure I unlocked something along those lines. Artificial jelly nut, overgrowth jelly nut soil requires biter eggs. Requires biter eggs, which we would need to, like... I guess we could... No, we would need to ship biter eggs to Gleba. That seems challenging, to say the least. Alright, we've done asteroid productivity, so that's good. Now let's get rocket fuel productivity, because that was the limiting factor back on Novice. Alright, so Gleba support is not much help on the fresh bioflux front. But hopefully using the Yumiko seeds more will help. Okay, now is there any way that we can increase this? I mean, if we put mashing up here, I guess that would actually be fine, right? Alright, let's get a row of a couple of you guys up top. And wait, why am I like this? We need to get beacons in. Alright, so I think it's like that should work. So then they take from there, they output to the Yumiko seeds, which filter down to there, like so. And we're gonna need this is set up to... Yeah, so that is a full box. We just need way more Yumiko seeds to actually get taken out. So, these guys, in the meantime, we can just get this all set up. You are going to be doing Yumiko mash, and you're going to be moduled up as usual. Bam, and bam. And then we get the Yumiko mash out of there. So that is all in. And then we just need this belt to go down and into here. So if we just pop that into there, I think that'll just work. Okay, I think that will simply work. And then let's also get the stack inserters onto this. Bam, bam, and bam, so that's more efficient. And then we just get the power poles up. So you get power poles in all of those locations, and then we connect you across. And hopefully that will be something worthwhile. So that'll be a bit more Yumiko mash. And then we're going to have to figure out what to do with all these dang seeds. Which I wish we could just burn them. We could technically, like, do something very convoluted and, like, export them to Vulcanus and throw them in lava. That doesn't seem practical, though. There's got to be some way. Okay, wait. Why does it say burnable fuel? Why does it say burnable fuel now? I could have sworn that these weren't burnable. All right, I might have just gaslit myself into thinking that they weren't burnable when they were. So let's just get you in there, and then you get a bulk inserter. And we're going to see what happens with this. So the way this works, we shouldn't burn the seeds. Okay, yes. Yeah, now we burn the excess seeds if we have too many of them. Although, let's actually get that set up. So this is going to be enable disable on Yumiko seeds less than... No, wait. Yumiko seeds greater than 400. Alright, so now that should be that. Rocket fuel productivity has happened. Let's do that again, because why not? So now we should have a good solid output of the Yumiko seeds, and let's make you that. And that, I don't know why this... Oh, it's just filling it up super quickly. So this isn't enough to burn it all as fast as I might like. But it should... Yeah, okay, so we're still fine. We've still brought the seed belt down to there. And that is all that we need to do. So now we have more of this stuff going in. And it might not be merging properly. We might need to do something about that. But hopefully... Okay, looks like the amount of bioflux going about is a fair bit larger now. Just like instantaneously. So that is good. And then this is all happening. And science is going. Science per minute is quite high when we're not completely out of science. Okay, so Novice has 12 minutes before we have a problem. And also this belt doesn't work entirely perfectly either. So some of these guys have spoiled already. It's definitely a bit worrying. Gleba support is on its way back with some pretty terrible bioflux. Yikes. Don't know what we're going to do about this. We just need to be sending over fresher bioflux is really like at the end of the day. Alright, rocket launcher is going back and forth, hasn't taken any damage. We're all producing. We have several hundred processing units. And we seem to be producing steadily, although we don't have quite enough green circuits. So green circuit production is hitting wire shortages because the wire is output full a lot of the time. Alright, so we need to fix that by flipping around which side the belt's output to. So let's take this all out. We need this bulk inserter to be like as far over there as possible. Then we need this one to we need the belt to curve a little bit. Actually, I wonder if we can just swap this over to stack inserters. If we just swap these over to stack inserters, that might just work. Yeah, probably not. Actually, no, yeah, that should definitely work. Okay, stack inserters. You get a stack inserter. And you get a stack inserter. So that should be more belt space efficient and faster regardless. Let's get the other bulk inserter in there just for the time being. Although we're going to want to upgrade it soon, obviously. So you are going to request stack inserters, presumably when you make it back to Novice. And that should get the wire going that little bit quicker. Everything seems to be going well. We have a random extra crusher just sitting there doing nothing. Let's dismantle that. Power demand is fine. Our accumulators, which we placed, seem to be mostly full. They do occasionally flicker, so we are technically getting some extremely minimal value out of them. And now the main issue is we still do not have enough iron recycling. So let's paste those over to these guys as well, get them extra fast. And hopefully that will make a bit of a difference. Maybe, do we actually want recycling to be the first priority? We might just want fresh to be the first priority. So if this all backlogs completely, then it should... No, yeah, if this all backlogs completely, it should be fine. Let's try that out, just to test the theory. So now we have a steady supply of fresh random inputs, which should give us a better variety, if that's necessary. And then the recycled stuff, mostly, well, theoretically, if anything is getting past the first wave, it's not needed, so it can be just thrown away. And then obviously if we do have a shortage of resources, then we can pull from this to keep it going. But hopefully that just won't be necessary now with this new setup. Although the direct recycling from these machines might be an issue, although it is going around to the other side, so maybe not. Alright, we'll have to see what happens with that. Regardless, it seems like it is more or less working fine. Have better recycling and more relevant, and we're less reliant on the recycling. So green circuits still going out. This is making its way back to Novice, where we should be able to upgrade to that. And we have, what, 500 processing units? Alright, so let's go back to Novice. This stuff still technically has bioflux. Rocket fuel productivity plus. Very nice. Alright, let's discover Fulgora. That'll be fun. We're not going to visit it today, but we'll have it all set up and ready to visit next time. So how is our rocket fuel supply going? Okay, we actually have plenty of rocket fuel now. So that's a great sign. And rocket launcher, it's still got all of its stuff. We should see the request for stack inserters once it shows up. And okay, even this first one, these ones need bulk inserters, I think. There, you get bulk inserters for the wire. Hopefully that is good enough. And yeah, so now we have the wire getting consumed better. And once... Okay, did I just see a power flicker? I think I just saw a power flicker. Where's the power grid in this thing? No, the accumulators... Oh, I see. The accumulators aren't actually enough... Because the accumulators can only output so much, right? Max output of 300 kilowatts. So, we either need more of those or more solar panels or something. But I think the extra accumulators should be fine. Because, I mean, it's staying at or near max capacity 99% of the time. Alright, Fulgora research obviously was very quick. What next? More rocket fuel productivity? No, there's got to be something else that we can do that's relatively cheap. Okay. I guess let's just do follow row robot count. I don't know if I ever intend to use those, but we can do the research nonetheless. Alright, so now our accumulators are able to discharge much faster, but they're definitely not able to keep up with the insane demand spikes of the foundries. And now we're running into now that we can actually output enough from our accumulators, we're actually running low on power for them. Which I guess is fine, technically. So we just need... Did you stop at Novice at all? Go back to Novice. And just pause there, probably. Just wait for passenger present, which obviously I won't be. And let's add on another stack of solar panels. Hopefully that does it. Alright, follow robot has finished. Transport belt capacity 2. Might as well do that. Alright, so now let's go back to Novice. And you are going to make some requests. So you are going to request processing units of 1,000 and depleted uranium cells of, I don't know, 100, let's say. Alright, so that is that. Then we actually have a bunch of processing unit production and storage here. So we're not actually going to be doing that. But we are going to be getting rid of all this stuff. Okay, I do see some blue circuits landing in here. It's only requesting like a couple at a time, which is kind of weird, but whatever. So now we're getting the extra solar panels built in, and we're also going to be sitting here burning through this massive supply of asteroids, which should be fine. Okay, now we actually do have just straight up a copper shortage. And that's partially because this guy is output full. So let's get on, let's see here. Iron output here with a bulk inserter. So you're going to be output priority right, of course, and then you are going to be circuit controlled, so enable disable. If iron is greater than some number, which we'll figure out, set you to hold all belts. Okay, so if iron is greater than, let's say, 80, then you're going to toss stuff out to keep things flowing. And that should be plenty good, especially because this is going to be running continually otherwise anyways. Alright, so this did end up getting the stack inserter, so let's take that bulk inserter out so that they can actually just only output to the stack inserters. Now we have green circuits starting to pile up, which is pretty good. Power is still not quite fixed, but the accumulators are looking better than they have been. So solar panel power is up, obviously. Accumulators are dealing with spikes, which I don't really want them to be doing, but I guess it's fine. How many accumulators do we have up here? We have another 21 of them. Alright, let's just get those accumulators placed in then. So we just need to find some empty space like here. And we're going to have to launch some rockets to do this, but it'll be fine. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 18, 21. So that should be all of the accumulators that we have up here. And then we will also copy paste a giant chunk of solar panels as well. So just a little bit extra of that. And that should be all for the construction that we have here. So I think we're going to wind up there for today. So thanks everyone for hanging out. We had a lot of fun today. We've built this giant complicated space platform which makes processing units. And let's dump some of those processing units down so that Novice can have free processing units. So I will be back on Monday, where we'll be doing more Factorio, and I think, unless something goes wrong or I think of some other urgent thing to do, I think we're going to be heading to Fulgora on Monday, and we'll just see what happens with that. I don't really know much of what to expect, except that there's, like, lightning stuff there. So we'll have to figure that out, and that will be our goal for the future. So thanks everyone for hanging out. I had a lot of fun. Make sure to follow if you haven't already. I stream every weekday from 2 to 5 Eastern Time. So I alternate between Factorio and Satisfactory. So I'll be doing Factorio on Monday and Satisfactory on Tuesday. So that's about it. Thanks everyone.